The question is, can Xbox be saved?
I hope so, because otherwise we're going to have to change the name of the YouTube channel. That sounds like a faff. We've come this far. We made it through Xbox One.
Yeah, we survived Xbox One. We can survive this. Mike, what a time for Xbox.
Yeah, big changes.
Since Asher Sharma has taken the role of like head Xbox person, CEO of Xbox semi-recently, there's been big changes.
Yeah.
And we want to talk about them. And is it enough? Is it sufficient? And is it the right thing to save Xbox?
Yes.
Which is a loaded question because it definitely implies that Xbox needs
saving.
Saving.
I think it does, probably.
So what's been happening?
Lots of stuff, right?
Yes.
Asher Sharma's been in since late February, replacing Phil Spencer, beloved of the gamers.
Right. Who must have been there for over a decade, because we were talking about this earlier. Phil Spencer was head of Xbox, or CEO of Xbox, for about as long as Outside Xbox has existed, because when we formed Outside Xbox, it was Don Matrick.
Yeah, correct.
And it wasn't long after we founded the channel that
the Xbox One launched.
That we got Phil Spencer and Xbox One, as we say.
And Don Matrick was elbowed out the door unceremoniously.
But now Phil's gone, Asher Sharma is in, and changes are afoot. Now, some of them have been warmly welcomed, and I think they've been really cannily calculated to be not that expensive or hard to implement, but also fan-pleasing. Also, they seem to have like a statement of intent, which is like we make Xbox great again, if you'll forgive the phrase. But they brought back the old Xbox logo. All right.
Green is back.
Green is back, baby. Yeah. I knew we should never have... we literally have never changed the Xbox screen. If you look at the branding on Outside Xbox, it's that kind of chartreuse, like Xbox screen, which was literally Xbox 360 era.
Yeah.
And we never went for the kind of like more jadey Kelly green of Xbox One. Everything comes around full circle. Sooner enough, we'll have the Xbox 360 Blades interface back.
Someone did say that on social media. They were like, what's next? Blades. The Blades.
So this is an Xbox marketing out the window, which everyone loves because that marketing was confusing. And
all over Hello Stream.
And all over Hello Stream. Sorry about it. But I mean, that marketing was designed not to appeal necessarily to gamers, but people who don't have an
people
Xbox.
Who don't and would never buy an Xbox.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like it is a move calculated to say to gamers, to the Xbox faithful, like, don't worry about it. This, we remember you.
People were nervous about Asher Sharma's installation into the role of CEO, partly because of her background in cloud and AI, right? She came from Microsoft's sort of cloud and AI
like
department.
An entire career built on AI.
So and obviously AI is a sensitive subject in video games and generally and has been cited in a lot of the kind of job losses in the industry. So it's seen as a bit of an existential threat to gaming. So I think people were like rightly kind of suspicious as when she arrived. Maybe less rightly suspicious because she is a woman who had never really engaged with games. It felt like, people were like inspecting her gamer tag and trying to work out what she'd played, and there was really not very much on there. And I guess my personal concern also was just the fact that she's a woman of kind of South Asian heritage, and I feel like there are certain portions of the gaming fan base who would have taken against her purely because of that as well. I think she's done a really good job of very rapidly ingratiating herself with the core Xbox fan base through a series of, like you say, quite strategically made decisions to appeal to the core Xbox fan base.
I think they are smart decisions and they have served their purpose. But I am almost waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, we're not ruling out AI. You were saying earlier that it feels like they're sort of pulling back a bit on like, let's get AI in everything. Let's AIify this entire operation. And how much of that has actually changed course, and how much of it is like, we're keeping that quiet. We're softening you all up with the kind of make Xbox great again kind of, like nice cheap branding moves.
I think what they've said specifically about AI, because obviously it became a hot button issue based on her background in the company. What they've said is they're not abandoning like AI entirely as a concept, but it's going to be like gamer focused. So I think they've probably looked at the sort of backlash to the NVIDIA DLSS 5 stuff. They've realized that that's like a step too far, but what they do want to use it for is, I guess you wouldn't even call it AI, but like machine learning in terms of texture compression and like increasing detail on like lower spec hardware. So they've been doing a lot of stuff with the Xbox ROG Ally X. So increasing the performance on there by using kind of machine learning, the same way that a Switch 2 uses sort of a DLSS style technology in order to get better image quality out of a low powered handheld.
Yeah.
So they're not like pulling back from the AI stuff entirely.
So gamer friendly just means not DLSS 5 style.
Yeah, not slop, basically, is what I think they're trying to say, basically.
Just say that. Just say not slop.
Yeah, not slop.
We promise no slop.
But they are going to use it for performance gains, which I think, players are kind of happy with, really, to be honest. Like, I think DLSS 4, the NVIDIA technology before the kind of yassified Grace in Resident Evil, has been roundly, like, well received because it allows you to, on a PC that is less powerful, have a better, smoother frame rate, basically, and higher detail, by running it at a lower core resolution.
So 5, too far to bring it back.
Exactly, So that technology is not going away. But yeah, I think, it was clearly a thing that was immediately picked up on by the fan base and was immediately addressed. But they've not said they're not going to do any AI related stuff.
Of course not. Yeah. But it feels like, on the whole, like a war of like perception.
Yes. Those are the levers they can pull at the moment.
Well, exactly. And also, like, anything that's about AI, like, for us, it's extremely prominent in the discourse and online. But I think you have to compare that to, like, how much does someone who's only lightly engaged with the discourse, like, what do they feel about AI and AI in gaming? But then again, when it is a question of when it's a question of perception, those like kind of small but vocal, highly engaged kind of maybe like anti-AI kind of portions are really significant.
Yeah.
And to that point, not AI, but we were talking earlier about their reappraising exclusives.
Yes.
I was reading some analysis recently where it's like exclusives are not like in real terms, like in practical terms, as big a deal as you might think in terms of like console sales, but they are a huge deal in terms of like branding and image and perception.
Yeah.
So if the whole exercise so far under Asher Sharma has been like a war of like perception and like saving Xbox like by perceptions first and then everything else to follow, I guess. You do need to appraise exclusives.
Yeah, and I think what you get is a kind of multiplier effect. And this has been long the case that, if you have an evangelist in a friendship group who's like, we've got to get an Xbox because we've got to play this game, that's how you get a kind of group of people getting like moved into the kind of ecosystem. And so you need to kind of win over the hearts and minds of the really hardcore gaming and hope that then they bring their sort of friendship group along, because the main thing people want is to play together, in terms of when they're picking a platform. They're like, well, where are my friends? And obviously cross-platform multiplayer and things has kind of muddied those waters a bit. But
you don't want the friendship group to be like, you got an Xbox.
Exactly.
We're all on PlayStation. Yeah. Although I am doing an impression of like a 12-year-old, and as we know now from the data, kids aren't playing console games.
No.
Kids aren't playing console games, and over 50% of households in America who have consoles and play console games are like on $100K, dollars or more, like income, annual income, which is, was it combined? In any case,
household income, right?
It's a substantial amount of money. So like people who are left playing console games are those with lots of money and not kids anymore, which is like a big shift away from like prior generations where console gaming was like a kind of a kid's activity. But the PlayStation obviously has had some price increases
in April.
So it's $650 for the you kind of
Series X or your PlayStation 5 now.
Exactly at this point. So Xbox did its price increases
October a
while back. Do you think there are more price increases in the pipeline? Can they afford to make it more expensive?
It's difficult
given
to know,
that
isn't
there's
it?
like this kind of parity with like the PlayStation, not the PlayStation Pro, which is what, like $700?
Oh yeah,
no, $900.
Yeah, $900.
Right? $900.
Sorry,
yeah.
It's the price super pricey. I don't think they can afford to be more expensive than a PlayStation 5. So even if they are making more of a loss now because of RAM prices or whatever, I think they've got to kind of eat that.
I mean, those chips are not getting cheaper.
Not at all. No. All the various sort of international conflicts and things are causing big issues for that sort of thing, supply chain and stuff. I think they're a tricky spot, aren't they? Because they are in a solid second place in this. So there's like 90 million PlayStation 5.
Second place in a race with not that many runners.
Well, indeed. Yeah, but it's certainly in terms of the PlayStation and the
you mean in the
Xbox.
Race that is PlayStation and Xbox, the solid second place.
So there's like 90 million PlayStation 5s and around, just over 30 million, maybe 34 million Xbox Series consoles out there. So that's like nearly a third of like the sales of the PlayStation 5. And I think that they can't afford to do anything like pricing wise to solve that problem. So what we've got is a lot of like easy win things like getting rid of this is an Xbox branding, which like we said, it was a sort of widely seen publicity campaign, but not aimed at gamers at all. It was aimed at people who wouldn't buy the console, but people saw that as a disinterest or a pulling back on console as a kind of core
it devalues the console itself, because you're saying if your fridge and microwave is an Xbox, then what's this what's this box under your TV even for?
And what are you committing to in terms of an ecosystem? Like, is that ecosystem eventually just going to go away? There's a lot of speculation about whether Project Helix, which is the next Xbox, might be Microsoft's last piece of console hardware. And I don't think that speculation's gone away just because...
They somewhat said that about this generation. But maybe it's nearly true now.
To a degree, yeah. I mean, you need, to look at Project Helix, it's still... Nothing's changed about the strategy for that. So although this is an Xbox branding is going away, Microsoft is still very focused on play anywhere. Every screen, you can play your games on any screen. You buy them once and then you have access to them wherever you go. And that is, so recently they, as a sort of look at Project Helix, they replayed the GDC talk that they presented to developers at the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco. But they put it on YouTube for everyone to...
And they called it the Xbox Game Dev Update.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was the first of its kind.
Yeah, so they at GDC they announced Project Helix as a code name, and they showed the talk, and the talk is all about how Project Helix is going to play your PC games. So it's going to have multiple storefronts. They confirmed that was something that was long rumored. So you'll be able to buy games via Xbox, but also you'll be able to buy games from Steam, from what we can tell, and maybe Epic Game Store and various other places. So that's not going away. And also they reaffirmed their commitment to you being able to play these games wherever, cross-purchase, being able to play them on whatever screen, on your mobile, via cloud, whatever. So the core ethos, I think it's too late to change that. And Project Helix is going to be what it was envisaged to be under Phil Spencer, which is basically a fancy PC, like with optimizations that the kind of optimizations you'd get from a kind of console-sized user base. So that you're going to play the game and you'll load the Xbox Project Helix profile and it will run as well as it possibly can on that hardware. So I still think that's exciting. Like, I'm still excited for a console where I can switch between my Steam library and my Xbox
But
library.
that is, Project Helix is literally years away.
I don't know how many years away.
No, I mean, no one knows, but it's got to be some number of years away.
I'm not sure, because there's talk that PlayStation also likes sizing up. I mean, this generation's been 6 years, has it?
Yeah. But I guess to my point, this Steam machine was gonna be out sooner, but it's still gonna be out somewhat soon. It's delayed, but out soon. And then the Steam controller just launched and was enormously successful. Like, that's got to steal the thunder of like that sort of Xbox ecosystem.
Yeah. Well, I think the Steam machine and Project Helix are like philosophically very similar.
But Helix is gonna land a lot later, unless it's coming out a lot sooner than I imagine.
No, yeah, it's going to be later than the Steam machine, definitely. And I think what the big question is, what's the other side of the coin, right? So you've got a console that is essentially a PC, but does your PC become an Xbox console? That's the question. If you already own a PC, are you going to be able to run an Xbox app that can all of a sudden play your entire library of Xbox games? It's what we were hoping for from the ROG Ally X. Didn't happen. It would only play PC versions of the game. And obviously, if you had got the kind of Play Anywhere titles, you could play them on both your Xbox and your ROG Ally, but it would not play your Xbox back catalog. And I think that's what people were hoping for from an Xbox handheld, and it didn't arrive. But there was a sense that we were moving in that direction where your laptop, for example, you could just fire up the Xbox app and play some Xbox exclusive game, via a sort of translation layer that would translate it into a PC game. So yeah, I don't know whether they'll pull back on that. They're talking about pulling back from exclusives on other platforms.
That seems wild to me. Like that seems like
they've sold significant amounts of games on PlayStation. Sea of Thieves has sold really well.
Yeah.
Forza Horizon 5, a game that at the time it launched was about 4 years old, 4 or 5 years old.
This is my point. It feels like one of the rare success stories within Xbox, and they're like, can it? Stop doing that thing that's working for
I think
us.
that demonstrates how seriously they're taking like reclaiming this brand and trying to re-engage with the core, because they are leaving money on the table. I mean, like Call of Duty is not going to not launch on PlayStation. No chance. Forza Horizon 6, I don't know. Like, it sold really well on PlayStation. It's been enormously popular. PlayStation fans are loving it because there is not, although they've got Gran Turismo, they don't have a kind of open world racer that is of the same caliber as Forza Horizon 6. They would be leaving money on the table, not putting that game, Forza Horizon 6, on PlayStation at some point.
And how does that marry to like Game Pass is cheaper now? Like Game Pass is another sort of like another move designed to like appeal to your gaming like kind of core.
It's really interesting one with Game Pass. Like clearly they're trying to recoup the money they're going to sort of lose from making it cheaper by making Call of Duty not day and date on. And you could see that lever maybe working, right? Like you're still going to get all your PlayStation Call of Duty sales anyway, so that's separate. But there will be a significant proportion of people who will buy the latest Call of Duty just to play the latest Call of Duty. And so maybe that will somewhat shore up the amount of money they're not earning by making a discount.
Presumably they're drawing on an enormous amount of like data, and they're like, this is a lever we can pull. This spreadsheet says that we can afford to do Game Pass, cut out Call of Duty, we'll still sell this much Call of Duty, we'll still sell this much Game Pass. The kind of person who wants Game Pass is maybe not the person who wants Call of Duty and FIFA and not Game Pass. Yeah.
I think this is going back to Asha Sharma.
Sure.
I think while people were worried that she wasn't a gamer, and Phil was like the peak gamer, coming out in his themed t-shirts and, just loved the video games. I think what Xbox needs right now is someone who's good at the like business side. Not saying Phil wasn't good at the business side, but someone who just looks at the numbers and looks at the levers that can be pulled, and I think that's what's happening, and so that's kind of exciting, I guess, as an Xbox fan, because you're sort of you're gathering the sort of circling the wagons and building it back up again to kind of to go for a fresh assault on PlayStation. But can it be saved is the question we're asking.
Well, I thought the answer like it feels like it was 6 months ago or so was. In fact, it was around the time of the launch of the This Is an Xbox campaign to lukewarm reception, was Xbox has lost the console war because it is sort of retreating from the console war and has decided to fight a different battle altogether.
Indeed.
So it's not a question of beating PlayStation, it's a question of going and doing Project Helix, which is, it's like, we don't need to win the console war. We're not even playing the console war,
well, now they're playing the console war.
But now they're back. Again. Are they back? Are they so back and back? Have they reignited the console war, or are they aiming to reignite the console war? And why?
And can they? Is PlayStation's lead unassailable?
Does anyone care enough about consoles? Like the dying art of console gaming. Like I say, it's for people with enough money to spend
have a box
several $100 and then $80 on Grand Theft Auto
or more.
I read something the other day. I think it was in the games business newsletter, Chris String's newsletter, and it was about how shocked a bunch of people are going to be when GTA 6 finally comes out, supposedly to kind of like be the rising tide that lifts all the boats, but is $80, and a bunch of people who are only casually engaged with like games, video gaming, who maybe haven't bought a console in a long time, but GTA, who maybe buy a console when a GTA comes out, suddenly they're faced with like $1,080 purchase, so they can be playing GTA 6.
I've heard chat that GTA 6 might be $100. You know, like and they could get away with it, I think, because it's so anticipated. But it's an expensive game to be in, certainly. But
I cannot wait for Rockstar to set the cat among the pigeons. Like, it will be devastating, that kind of a price tag, but
it's cost $1 billion.
Can you imagine?
It was rumored to have cost $1 billion to make GTA 6. So, we're in.
What are you going to do? Not buy GTA 6?
Yeah, well, quite.
Is what they will say.
But we're in a weird space, and I think the big thing for Xbox, the big unanswered question for me, is we've got a lot of like short-term wins, right? Another one I haven't even mentioned. They're reopening the backwards compatibility program, which was a classic. That was the Phil Spencer era. Like, I remember that E3. Yeah, everyone went
back compat.
Everyone went crazy for it. And like, clearly they're like, well, we can probably spin that team up and, you know, secure a few more licenses to re-release these games. Yeah. Great, another straightforward win. The big question, the big unanswered question, and I would say the biggest problem that Phil Spencer had throughout his entire reign was the games. Like, where were the games? Where were the exclusive games? The quality of them just wasn't what was expected. Bunch got cancelled, stuff like Scalebound got cancelled, and it felt like we went through Christmas after Christmas where there was just like nothing really
nary
big.
A Fable to be seen.
Yeah, exactly.
But now there is a Fable to be seen.
Well, there is a Fable on the way, and there's, you know, Forza Horizon 6 is on the way. I just, that's going to be the question. It's and the problem with the games is they take so long to make that you have to have made those plans years in advance to see them into fruition. So it's going to depend a lot on what Phil was up to in the last few years. Perfect Dark's gone away. Like, so much stuff has been cancelled and, you know, like, has just fizzled out. Asha Sharma can get these kind of early wins under her belt, but
you can't travel back in time and start a game development cycle that needs to be 6 years long, so that there's an exclusive ready for you next year.
And I think that's the big problem that Xbox faces, and the one that's a trickier solve. So I think.
Are you saying it's all about the games, Mike?
I'm saying it's all about the games. Games are back, Jane. Or maybe they're not back, and maybe that's Xbox's problem. But yeah, I think it's a strong start. I'm pleased that she's, you know, her focus is in the right place, I think, for an incoming CEO of Xbox. Like, she's doing what you have to do as an incoming CEO, which is like clear house a bit and, you know, like and try and, you know, get the fan base back on board. But I think long term, Xbox's future relies on some really strong, like, first party exclusive games. They can come out on I think they can come out on PlayStation several years later, but I think you need that kind of what's the killer app, which is a term that I haven't used in about 10 years. But like, yeah, what is the thing that is gonna shift?
This could be 2010's like game media bingo.
Yeah, right.
Where it's like, it's all about the games, killer app, etc.
Verticality.
Yeah.
Core pillars.
Cloud.
But yeah, that's my big question. So can Xbox be saved? It's going to depend on the games, and those are decisions that will have been made by Phil Spencer, not by Asha Sharma. I mean, I'm hoping that Project Helix comes out with a load of absolutely killer launch titles. They're super exciting. They look incredible. And we can all celebrate again. But man, we, like you say, we've been doing Outside Xbox for basically as long as Phil Spencer was in the job. His predecessor, Don Matrick, I don't think we knew at the time how like comprehensively he had killed Xbox's momentum at that point. It was wild because
it was dead. It just hadn't stopped moving.
Yeah, this is it. We'd seen like the sort of pendulum swing between PlayStation and Xbox, right? So PS2 obviously much superior to the original, not technologically superior, but much superior in terms of fan base and sales to the original Xbox. Then it swung the 360 way because they really capitalized on online multiplayer and the marketplace, and making the online experience like an integral part of the console in the way that the PlayStation 3 didn't do. Plus, it was more pricey. Then it swung back, obviously, with Xbox One, and we were like, well, but there's all to play for. And then it's just been win after win for PlayStation, and Xbox has really floundered since then. And it was
on such a massive time delay that it took a while for the repercussions to be.
Yeah,
clear.
we didn't know back in 2013 that the Xbox One was going to be so pivotal, like that generation was going to be so pivotal. Yeah.
To what extent, how great are the gains potentially of cloud being huge for Xbox? If a console costs $1,000,
yeah,
or you can pay something to access a reliable cloud service instead of buying the hardware yourself, does that benefit Xbox much more than PlayStation? In a way that could, be the kind of winning component for Xbox.
I feel like Game Pass is an offering with cloud. Game Pass with cloud is an offering that intuitively feels like it should be enormous. It should be something that is as big as like Netflix. Do you know what I mean? The games industry is, always touted as like bigger than Hollywood and all this kind of stuff, right? It should be that
so many shoulds.
Yeah. And so I can see why they keep pursuing it. But there has been no sense that there is interest among your average TV watcher to connect a controller and play Xbox games. They could do it right now.
Yeah.
Like my Samsung TV has Xbox support. I just don't get...
Didn't Netflix just pull back on like its gaming offering, right?
Potentially. But it just doesn't seem like there's the appetite, which is strange.
It's weird that it hasn't had more of a foothold, more of a foothold in the many, many, many years where, cloud gaming is the next big thing imminently in the next year or two. It's weird that there's not more
because the arguments are already there. I mean, all right, the consoles aren't $1,000 yet, but they're very expensive. And if you wanted to play Starfield and you were on PlayStation, you could either wait a year for it to come out on PlayStation, or you could have like fired up the streaming service on your TV and played it straight away if you were prepared to pay $29, now $22, $99. But it's just not, so I don't know. I genuinely think the cloud gaming thing works really. Anytime I've used cloud gaming, it's been an entirely pleasant experience. Like it's been really, really good. Low latency, like works fine in a pinch. If you don't have access to a console and you want to play something, it's been brilliant. But there's just not that sense that it's going to have the kind of cultural impact that Netflix has. But it feels like it could. And I can see why they...
It feels like a no-brainer. Why people can't let it go.
Yeah. And Game Pass is a great... Like, you go on there and there's so many brilliant games on there. If you were a kind of gaming omnivore, but I don't think people are gaming omnivores anymore. There's very few people who are playing all sorts of stuff. A lot of people, as was the case, for a while, but it seems more so now, play one or two games, right? Some people just play Fortnite and they get enough new content in Fortnite every month that it will just keep them playing Fortnite. I think where the gaming omnivores have ended up is on PC, and they're playing like smaller indie titles on Steam. So that's where they've kind of ended up. And I think that era of like, that golden era of like 360 where you'd buy a bunch of like B-tier shooter first person shooter games and have a great time playing Time Shift or whatever, Singularity or
Fear 2.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fear 2 Project Oranges. Where are those gamers? I don't know that they exist anymore.
No. They've grown up.
Yeah,
that kind of gamer has not been replenished.
Yeah, it does.
By upcoming younger generations.
If you imagine if there'd been a service like Game Pass in the 360 era, it would have been enormous. Like everyone with a 360 would have had it and would have been playing all sorts of stuff. But I think tastes have changed.
Instead of spending your like 400 MSP on a new Xbox Live Arcade game, you'd have had
the remake of Ninja Turtles Arcade.
You'd have had Game Pass.
Yeah. So
how many brains are hard at work over at Microsoft HQ or Xbox Game Studios HQ or whatever we're calling it now? Hard at work to like, how do we be the Netflix of gaming?
Yeah.
How?
But that's what this is an Xbox thing was about. It was about trying to get it out to a wider audience.
Yeah. Annoyingly, I think it's such a stern, like freaking like communications challenge, like marketing challenge. Like you're trying to communicate with the people who are the kind of least bothered by the kind of technical side of gaming. You're trying to sell them on the most sort of technical implementation of like, you want gaming in your home? Well, it's simple. We are going to do the processing for you over here, and then we're going to send the game to your house, and you're just going to have your TV and a controller. And it's a harder sell than like Okay, I'm going to go kind of like go long with this one.
Yeah,
but
of course.
Like Netflix began like Love Film in the UK, right, as a service where they would post you a DVD. All right, and the transition from that to like the internet is going to deliver that DVD to your TV. I don't feel like that was ever as hard, kind
there was less friction.
Technical, it wasn't like a friction-y sort of transition.
No.
But the equivalent for gaming feels like such a steeper hill to climb.
And I don't really understand why. And I think this is why you end up with Microsoft in the position they are, where they're like, but why are you not interested in cloud? It's really handy.
It's the Netflix of gaming, you idiots.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay. Asha, hi, call me, Ms. Sharma. This is an Xbox was bad. It's the Netflix of gaming, you idiots.
That's the brand. That's the tagline.
Come on.
No, I can, like I say, I can see why they're in the situation they're in, because intuitively it makes sense.
Yeah.
But for some reason, people just aren't into it.
Yeah.
They just aren't into it.
Yeah. And also, I mean, away from the kind of the technical side of it and onto the branding side, which is kind of where we began, that's not what they probably want to be talking about if they're trying to kind of persuade their kind of core gaming audience that like, we're back, baby, make Xbox great again, is not going to be, but cloud, seriously though, cloud is our big bet.
Yeah.
Exclusives though. That's the thing we can all agree on. We can all get together.
But again, you need the games.
But you need to have started making them 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So time machine it is.
Yeah. Invent the time machine, Asha Sharma. I believe in you.
Go back in time.
Go back in time. Uncancelled, Scalebound and Perfect Dark.
Yeah.
And that'll fix Xbox. It's easy. I don't know what you're worried
Create
about.
a splinter timeline where Xbox is in the ascendant again. And then Xbox is saved. It's simple.
We're no help at all, are we?
Not really. Sorry, Ms. Sharma, if you stop by, for advice.
At least we're not rebranding the channel to Outside Netflix of Gaming, you idiots.
All right, maybe don't listen to me on marketing. You did mention Phil Spencer's biggest problem, though.
Yeah.
His second biggest problem was when you wear a blazer over a T-shirt with like a game logo. You can only see the middle letters of the game. So the thing to do would be to make games with fewer letters in their name.
You're not seeing Asha Sharma in a blazer, though, are you?
I mean, blazer, yes, but not necessarily over a gaming T-shirt. No.
I expect it to be very well dressed throughout. But yeah. Can it be saved? Possibly, but it requires some
time machines. Parallel timeline.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
A multiverse.
But I think Asha Sharma is making the right moves, and if anyone can save it, I think someone like her is the person to do it.
Well, thanks for watching, everybody, and keep it outside Xbox for more on Xbox and gaming and Xbox adjacent gaming, and this is an Xbox. So
everything's an Xbox.
It's not anymore.
And nothing is an Xbox.
It really isn't anymore.
Project Helix is an Xbox. That's all you need to know.
Come on back and we'll talk about it. Maybe this time next year we'll have $1,000 console, $100 GTA 6.
And we'll be happy about it. And still no one will be playing cloud games.
Still no one will be playing cloud games. You will. You like cloud games.
I like them. From time to time I do.
Yeah.